Kenny, I can't believe we're so far over budget on this TV show. We cut out every perk. We cut this thing down to the bone. Just a second. Larry, you better pick up the Smashing Pumpkins first. Kenny's still waiting for a bikini wax, and I haven't got my French tips yet. Yeah. It's a mystery.
That's what it is.
I've heard this band called alternative or grunge, but I always think of them as American Gothic. Smashing Pumpkins have always been one of those truly compelling groups, and I'm very excited they're here with us today. Led by Billy Corgan and Jimmy Chamberlain, this is Smashing Pumpkins.
Right off the silver screen into a moonbeam to the alien side. Catch out with Jesus, the stars beneath us. Oh, what a beautiful night. Cool in your pocket, you can't lock this night. Cool in your pocket, you can't lock it. You can't help but decide it's alright. Rocks all your rocket ride. Cool in your pocket, you can't lock it. You can't stop this night outside. Oh, what a beautiful night. Start up the revelry, roll out the cavalry.
You guys are from Chicago, the Windy City. How did being from Chicago affect the way your music sounds?
I think work ethic really, we grew up in such a working class area that I think it really influenced the way we look at how to work.
I don't think we're directly really influenced by any kind of West Coast or East Coast clique. We kind of had to figure it out on our own and really kind of use what appealed to us as individuals musically as opposed to kind of what was appealing to everybody else, because Chicago was never really the center of the universe when it came to music.
You both had parents that had musical backgrounds. Tell us about that.
My dad played clarinet. He wasn't a professional musician. He was a hobbyist. He worked on the railroad and was really a big band kind of devotee, Duke Ellington, Count Basie. It didn't influence me a lot as a kid, but I think now that stuff that I listened to when I was a kid really influences the way I hear drums now, more so than it did then, because of course you think whatever your parents are listening to is like garbage.
What were you listening to, Billy?
I grew up with my father mostly on R&B. He didn't really listen to the blues, he more listened to soul. But he also liked Hendrix. And
he was a guitar player?
Yeah, really great guitar player, great singer, great guitar player.
Did your dad, buy you a guitar, sit down and give you guitar lessons at home, or?
No, it's sort of the opposite thing. There's a great story where he was friends with this narc, and I got $200 to get a guitar, and it turns out he took my $200 and he bought 2 guitars, and he gave me the one, and he gave the narc the good one. So my dad didn't really want me to play guitar. He was sort of against it.
You stopped me when he was friends with a narc. Wait a second.
Well, they used to go out, him and the narc used to go out and they'd pull people over.
A narcotics agent.
Yeah, and they'd pull people over and then they just do the drugs.
Is it a happy childhood for young Billy?
No, it was very messed up. My father and mother split when I was around 4, and I stayed with my mom. She had a nervous breakdown. Then my father got remarried, and then I lived with him and my stepmother, and then he split at some point, and then my stepmother, that was a very abusive household. And
So you're living with your stepmother and your dad's not there anymore?
Or my mom. That was very difficult for me. There's all this sort of unhappiness buried in there, and it didn't really come back out until we started getting successful. And there was something about public criticism, the humiliation of public criticism, that really set off all these demons that were sort of buried in there of the past.
Do you pay attention? I mean, it hurts
No,
your feelings. You pay attention to what critic. I never read anything that a critic writes because I.
That's why you have all your hair, you see.
Thank you. That's it. I don't read it because I always like to think that I'm better than I really am, and if I read, what.
Well, you are better than they think you are. Of course you are. A critic can't possibly understand the process by which an artist expresses themselves. Because if they did, they would.
Wonder where I could ever go. I'd have to forget.
What was your relationship with Kurt Cobain?
Kind of strange because, we'd sort of intersected with the same woman. It sounds like one of your songs.
I don't know that story, and it sounds good. Can you remember the first music that you composed?
Sure, yeah.
I'm dying to hear it.
So I think one of my first songs that I actually sang was there was a song called Spite Face, which was like, I don't know.
What's it called?
Spite Face.
Spite Face?
Yeah. Their words will one day spite your face. I was just trying to be alternative, you know what I mean? I didn't know what it meant. They weren't very good. I was always so attracted to the dynamics. And so that was my first entry into songwriting was from a dynamic place, from a place of force and power, and because I wanted it to sound big and loud like the things I was attracted to. It wasn't until I actually realized I could write melodies that then we tried to sort of start fusing the melodies and the power. But the first tracks were really more atmospheric and power.
Was there a point when you went, click, I can make a living doing music?
I actually never thought about it from that perspective. For me, for a long time, it was like I felt like I had this voice inside me, but I couldn't get it to come out right. I would play somebody something and say, "Oh, it sounds like Pink Floyd." I'd be like, "No," And I love Pink Floyd, but it's like I wanted somebody to say, "Oh, that sounds like you."
Nobody else sings like you. Is that how you sounded at first?
I used to sing more like in here. Oh. It took me a while to find that other voice. My own father told me, you got to get a singer. My own father said, you'll never succeed with that. Well, you'll never succeed with that voice of yours.
Has he changed his mind now that you've sold a gazillion records? And
Oh, now he understands. But you know, I don't mean this disrespectfully to my dad, but I don't think he thinks of me as a great singer. He thinks of it as like more. I think he looks at it as a sort of a combination of things.
Uh-huh.
If he asked my father to prioritize my talents, I would say he thinks lyricist, guitar player. My singing is, like, I think in his eyes, sort of down the totem pole.
the original lineup of the Smashing Pumpkins, tell us how it came together and how you knew you had something.
The guitar player, James, I met through like a friend of a friend, and we actually started sort of like what we hoped to be a band, but that didn't last, and so it ended up just being me and James. And so then we played together for a while. We actually played a gig or two as the Smashing Pumpkins, just me and him in a drum machine, with me playing bass. And then Darcy I met at a concert. I went to a concert and I thought it was terrible, and I heard a person behind me saying what a great concert it was. And I wheeled around and said, "This is the worst concert. Who are you, and how can you imagine that was good?" And we got an argument. So our first meeting, literally from our first breath together, was an argument, which was basically how the relationship
Divine
shut down from
providence.
then on. Yeah, it was foreshadowing, as they say.
How old were you guys when you met?
I was 21, you were 24?
24. I had got a demo tape via a mutual friend of Billy's and mine, with a note saying that they were looking for a drummer to play a gig at the Metro.
Neither of you are really professional musicians at that time, are you? You're just kind of like...
Well, he was.
Yeah, I started playing professionally when I was 15. So I mean,
He played in a polka band.
I played like on a polka TV show.
Do you remember what the show
It
was?
was called Eddie Carosa's Polka Party.
And so
every Saturday.
Billy probably was watching that show and figured
No, I actually used to watch Polka Party. I did,
Right.
but
Really?
I don't remember seeing him. But I used to watch the Polka Party show. Yeah,
Did you guys get along right away?
he was sort of from the other side of the world in my eyes. James, Darcy, and I were very much living in the alternative world. You know, we sort of had funny haircuts and stuff, and he was coming from like construction people land or something. He was working part-time as a construction worker and stuff. So he didn't look like us, he didn't act like us, he didn't talk like us. He drove like a 280Z, if you remember that car.
Yeah.
So we were like, who is this guy? But music was the only thing we sort of bonded on. Our friendship has really grown over time, but in the beginning it was more just a musical relationship.
You're talking about you didn't listen to that kind of music. At that time, you know, when you're putting up a poster for yourself, what kind of music would you call it?
We were sort of gothic, I guess, just straight. We were sort of trying to kind of emulate the kind of the European gothic stuff, like The Cure, and atmospheric music that sort of has maybe it has a good song attached to it. The Cure is probably the best purveyor of that, where, he's a great songwriter,
Right.
but it kind of has an atmosphere that creates a kind of a mental picture in your mind.
Were you dressing? Were you trying to dress like The Cure or other people, or look
I'd
in a
already
different
been
way?
through that phase. No,
Yeah.
we were just into thrift store clothes at that point because we didn't have any
Yeah.
money. So it was like $2 polyester
I
shirts.
think
That was-
every band starts off dressing in a thrift store.
Yeah,
Yeah.
not by choice.
My earliest memories of the band, the four of us on stage, was that people would look at us. And I'd been in other bands before. And it was strange because people would just stare. There was something about the band that made people stare. They couldn't take their eyes off of us. Now, I'm not saying everybody,
Right.
but it was uncommon, the level of interest in just our physical presence. Even where the band wasn't that good, people would just sort of pay attention to us. It had a chemistry that was hard to explain.
I used to know you. I used to care. I used to know you.